Hi, Miss Joellen. Spring is almost here, right?
Yes.
Folks are itching to get out into the garden.
Right.
But they need good gardening tools, right?
Yeah, there is an array of gardening tools that I use all the time.
Okay.
And we're just going to go over some of them today.
Sure.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
And
That's just fine.
the number one garden tool that I use all the time are these
Yes.
hand pruners.
I would agree.
And there's so many things you can do with these hand pruners. I mean, I keep them with me almost all the time when I'm out in the garden. There are all kinds and they're all good, but the best thing I can tell you is make sure that they are scissor action ones.
Right.
Where they bypass, this blade passes this other blade. That's the scissor action ones are the best. They last the longest. Some of the others that are anvil don't last as long. But these, no matter how inexpensive or expensive they all work the same and they all work well.
Yes.
And if you've noticed, since it's the beginning of the year, I have already cleaned and sharpened all of my tools.
You did a good
for the
job.
winter,
They look good.
including the wood parts have linseed oil on them. So everything is ready for the spring.
Mr. D would be so proud of you.
Yeah. The other thing I use all the time are gloves.
Yes.
There's so many things that are sharp out there. I just have gotten comfortable wearing gloves, and if you use gloves enough, you will be comfortable wearing gloves.
True statement.
There. So now these, besides cutting things up to stems up to about 3/4 of an inch, if you need something a little larger than that, then you're going to go with these called loppers. And they give you more leverage, and they've got a bigger blade on them, and you can cut stems up to 2 inches with these. So anywhere from 1 to 2 inches cuts with the loppers. If you need anything any larger than that, I would suggest the hand pruning saw. And I like the ones that have a retractable blade because these are very sharp. And what's good about these is they're not like a regular saw. They cut on the pull.
Ah.
So, and they cut this particular one with this double serrated edge it cuts really fast on the pull, almost like butter through like up to maybe 3.5, 4 inch limb.
Okay.
But I wouldn't do anything any larger than that.
Okay.
About 3 inches is average that I use this for.
But cutting on the pull is
Cutting
good,
on the
though.
pull,
Yes.
because it's not like a saw, but it cuts more on the pull, so you're pulling it back to cut it.
That's good.
That's what's different about this type of saw compared to regular saw. Another thing that I use a lot for planting seeds is this claw. Sometimes weeding, if you've got some small weeds, it's easy just to scratch the ground and get the weeds out.
Okay.
Also, when you're planting seed beds like lettuce and radishes, onions,
Good
small
example.
seeds,
Right.
you get a good, you can rough up the ground and get a nice seed bed for the seeds to be planted. So I use that.
Okay.
Trowel. Oh,
Yes.
this is another one that I use a whole lot for a lot of things. Now, I like the narrow. There are wider blades.
Yeah,
I like
I
the
have one of
narrow
those.
blades. I think this part of the country with the soils we have, this one seems to, get into the soil and able to work easier to make a hole to plant, small plants with this
Okay.
one. I also will weed with it.
All right.
You can just sit and cut around the ground and
Okay.
get the
Yeah,
weeds
the
up.
little shallow weeds. Yeah.
I use it a lot for a lot of different things like that. And then there's something like this. It's called the pruning fork. Dividing plants is the number one thing I use, and digging up bulbs like tulips that are done for the year.
Okay.
That's what I use that for.
Could you use that for a compost pile?
Yes, and turning compost.
Yeah.
I do. See, I compost on the ground, so
Oh, okay,
I don't
I
have
got you.
piles, but yeah, that's
But you
what I
could,
would
okay.
use for that
Okay.
too. Next is one that a lot of people don't know about, and it's a triangular shaped hoe, and it's called a morrow hoe. Again, it's good for weeding, but it's really good at making edges on beds. Like if you got a sidewalk and you've got a planting bed next to it, it makes a nice edge so that you can put mulch down to the sidewalk so that the soil won't keep running out onto your sidewalk. I use it a lot for that, and I also use it in the garden when I make my rows for planting my corns or my beans, I just roll this down and I just set seeds in, and then and you just take it and you just cover it back up. It makes it real easy to plant rows of seeds in the garden.
All right.
So I do use it for that. Next is a small shovel. And after the transplant trowel, I mean, if the plant is like a quart or a gallon size, so it's a little bit bigger, I will use this to plant those plants. So it's just a little bit small plants.
Okay.
Gallon size and below. It was good for that. Then, of course, if you've got landscape shrubs and trees, you're going to need and to do some heavy, like we've used this out front to trim up the amendments for our bed. So that's when I use the larger shovel for. And of course, then next is the leaf rake. And you know, I use it not only to get debris out of the way, leaves, I also disseminate mulch, if you watched me, with that. So it's very versatile, and you know, cleaning up the yard with anything. I like the leaf rake. And of course, then there is the garden rake. And this is to move like rocks and mulch and dirt in large quantities.
Okay.
The leaf rake will just kind of go over the top of it and it gets small debris, but the garden rake gets larger debris, larger soil, larger rocks, and you can really do some moving with it. And I probably use it the least, but I still, you know, when you need to move something, you really need it. So I've always had one and have used it. And of course, the last thing you need is a broom.
It's a good broom.
It's a good broom, because you should always clean up after yourself. So those are the ones I use all the time. These are the ones that if you're starting out, these would be good tools for you to have for your garden.
And they can purchase these tools?
These are found everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. There's nothing new, you know, and revolutionary here. Now there are a lot of specialized tools.
Yeah.
I use these. You find them anywhere. I haven't found anything else that I like more than what I already have. So I've been using these. And
they look good. I mean, you cleaned them up real good.
I did.
But again, if you had to use one tool, what would that one tool be? If you just had to have one,
I would move my hand pruners because they do just so much.
Right.
And
being agents, you know, we have to have that because we stop on side of the road and prune things for demonstrations. And
we do.
You know, and such.
But so I like my hand pruners. Actually, the hand pruners was probably the first one I had for myself when I was starting out. So, and I've gathered all of these over the years and inherited some of them. So.
Okay. And it's always good to, you know, clean the handles off too, so you don't get splinters.
Yeah, and
those type of things.
And one thing is, like with the crepe myrtle bark scale now, if you're pruning with any of this on your with the crepe myrtle bark scale, you want to disinfect that because you don't want to transfer that to another crepe myrtle that doesn't have it. And if you have to cut and dig up diseased plants, it would be best if you put a little rubbing alcohol or a little bleach water or something on them to disinfect it, so you don't move diseases or bugs in your own yard.
Good point. Glad you brought that up. All right, we appreciate that. That was good. We know these are your tools that you use.
These are mine. These are mine.
Good deal. Thank you, Ms. Joellen. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. To find out more information on this topic, just click on the familyplotgarden.com link in the description.